Hey everyone. In this video series here, what I'm going to show you is a kind of a complete process of soil sampling as it relates kind of to the precision ag side of things. And so we're going to see everything from creating our sample points to putting it into a mobile device and navigating through a field. And then once we get the results back and pulling those in and then making a recommendation from it. So what you see here on the screen, this is one of the software applications. This is a fairly common one. This is the SMS advanced software that Ag Leader sells. And so what I have up here on the screen, this is our college farm. This is actually 2 fields that we've had at our college farm. So I'm going to kind of show you some of the soil sampling processes that go into it. So we'll start with that field over on the east side. On the right hand side, this is what we refer to as the east field. So I'm going to do a soil sampling, create some grids for that one. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to say create a new soil sampling layer. And now it's going to ask, okay, which one of the fields did I want to do it? And like I said, I want to do it for the east field. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And it says, okay, do you want to sample the whole field? And most of the time we will. But if I wanted to, I could actually split this into smaller pieces. If I wanted to say just sample half the field, I could designate that here. And so the next part is okay, what do you want to create? Do you want to create points or grids? And as I mentioned, I'm going to create grids. And then it gives me a chance I can actually define my grids in terms of size, lengthwise, or I can determine it define it in terms of area, like 2.5 acres. And then I can also designate where do I want to start. So I'm going to start up in the northeast corner, and I'm going to kind of travel in a north to south pattern. And that's how it's going to number my grids. So once I set that, and then it comes up and says, okay, here's kind of what we've laid out. So now I can kind of do some adjustments. So I'm going to kind of align my grids to kind of the longest edge of the field, so that western edge. And I'm going to kind of move them around and try and maximize a little bit of my grids, but in trying to get them all a nice, good representative set. There they are. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that. So now it comes in, shows me here's what it looks like right now. I could actually go in and make some more grids if I want to. There's a few more features here, but for all intents purposes, this is what I want. So I'm just going to go ahead and save it. And now it says, okay, where do I want to save it in terms of our management tree? So I'm going to say it's in the Ellsworth College, our college farm. And the field is going to be the east field, and it's going to be for the 2017 crop year. So I'm going to go ahead and okay. It's saved. So when I close out and I go back in, there's my grids. So if I want to kind of make this a little bit prettier, so when I give it to my soil sampling person, I give them a color map, they'll kind of know what this is. So I'm going to go in and set some settings on here. I'm going to go ahead and do some labeling so I can see what each grid number is. And that is what we call the feature ID. In this system, they call it that. And I'm going to make it kind of something easy to see and use a predefined font size. I hit OK. And I probably should go in and I'm going to turn off my labels so I don't want to see my acre showing up in there. Same thing for the west field. So there's my grids. You can kind of see start up here with grid number 1 down to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, back and forth. So there's my grids, easily created. So now I'll just kind of show you, just as a reference, I'll show you what it looks like when we want to do points in there. So once again, I'm going to say new soil sampling layer. And this time I'm going to do it for the west field. And I'm going to do the whole area. And now I'm going to say, well, give me points instead. And once again, we'll do it on 2.5 acre grids. This time I'm going to start in the southwest corner, and I want to kind of go east to west. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. Now I can kind of you can see the points laying in there. So I'm going to kind of rotate them a little bit. I'll kind of line them up somewhat to what it looks like on the east side of the field. I'll kind of twist and adjust them. Something like that. I'll hit finish. Now if I wanted to, since I'm kind of missing a few spots here at the bottom, I could go ahead and add my own points in. So let's say I want to put another one, say here, and another one there, and another one there. So same thing, when I'm ready, I'm going to go ahead and save it, set it to my Ellsworth Grower, College Farm, the Westfield for the 2017 year. Now it's saved. When I close out of this, there's my grids, including the new points that I just added. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to number these, so we can see the numbers show up. So when my sampler goes out and he has a map in front of him, and we'll go ahead and put them in green this time. I'll give them a 12-point font, and I'll put the numbers right above the point. Oops. I really don't need to see the units and the values. There we go. So there's your points. So you can kind of see right here on the map the two different types, grids versus points, work both just as great. So now at this point, I'm ready to put this into, I'm going to export this out so that my mobile device can pull it up. So I'm going to go into my device setup. I started a soil sampling one. I'm just going to go in, make sure it's set my fields. So my east and west fields are going to come along with their boundaries. And I'm going to make sure my 2017 soil sampling sets are in there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And I'm going to go ahead and export it out to the mobile. Ag Leader has an SMS mobile product, works on some smart devices. They're kind of changing that right now, but it also works on a laptop with a Windows operating device. So since I have a laptop here right now, I'm just going to go ahead and export it right out to this same laptop. And so I'm going to export it out to the SMS mobile that's here on this computer. I hit OK. It's doing its thing. Data has been sent out. So now I'm going to go ahead and minimize this application. I'm going to go ahead and get into my mobile side of things. Give it a second here. So this is kind of their mobile side. So this is what you would see if you had a laptop or one of the mobile devices running this software. And I can go into my project. I believe it was ECC soil sampling. Now if I go into soil sampling here, and it looks like it's trying to find a GPS receiver on this laptop, which I don't have. And this is one of those things, welcome to technology, because when I tried this out a few minutes ago, it worked perfectly fine. So and now it went. Okay, there it goes. So now it's like, okay, do you want to create your own new soil sampling set, or do you want to use something that was already created? Well, I'm going to go to the one that was already created. And once again, here's my ECC College Farm East. There's my soil sampling set that I just created. So now I hit OK. Now, if I want to go in, here's some of the data that I can actually have it collect for me while I'm going along. So imagine if I had a pH meter, I could go along and take pH readings and go ahead and log them in as I'm traveling through the field. But the one thing I do want to do is I'm going to set my sampling depth. So let's say I'm consistently sampling at 6 inches deep. And let's say the temperature is a nice balmy 42 degrees when we're sampling today. So I can store that, and it's going to store that with every sample that I take. So when I go to download all the data later, that information is going to be there as well. So I'm going to go hit OK, and I'm going to zoom out here. So there's my fields. Here's my field with my different soil sampling numbers. And now at this point, if I'm ready to, I just want to start navigating through it. If my GPS was hooked up, I would see where my GPS position is. And I'm just going to come down here and say navigate to the object that's furthest away. So if I wanted to follow it in the chronological order, I could. Or I'm going to say, just get me to the nearest one. So it's right there. And I can actually hit a button right here, and it's going to flip over and say, here's where you need to go. So the red dot there, kind of to below the black circle, that's the direction I need to be heading. And it says I actually, in the upper left-hand corner, you could see I need to be 114. I'm 114 feet away, so I can start heading towards that red dot, and it's going to start counting me. And when it gets there, it's going to lock me in. And as soon as I get to that spot, it's going to go ahead and automatically move me to the next one, so that I can navigate to that. So this is what it is. As I travel through the field and I can do that, I can also take notes while I'm traveling along doing this, and store information, like notice something here, like a tile blowout, or there's an issue. You can log some of that information as well. So this is kind of their mobile app. And real handy to use. A lot of people utilize this system out there when they're actually gathering the soil samples. So this is their mobile operation. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and close out. And so now we're going to take the steps of, we gather the samples, we put them in the bags, we've sent it to the lab, and now our results have come back. And as you saw in the earlier video lecture series, a lot of times we're going to get those results back in electronic format. And that's what we're going to do right here. So I'm going to go in. I'm ready. I got my email from the lab. Here's your results. So I'm going to say, go ahead. I'm going to read them in. Import from a generic source. And a couple different types of data we can pull in. But in this case, I'm going to do a lab result. And it's kind of defined there what types those are. So I'm going to go, here's my 2017-11 Ellsworth East file results. So kind of the first screen here kind of gives us some basic information. Is, do you have a header across the top? Where does it start? What is the date format in? Things like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. So now here's where we're going to pair this up. We're going to take the data that's coming in and we're going to match it up to that sampling set that I created there earlier. So I'm going to say my operation was soil sampling. It was for the 2017 year, and I could change it if it was for a different year. I could set it for different growers, things like that. So here's my 2017 year, and it came through and says, hey, I found 2 operations you did in there, the ones that we created earlier. The next option is, and we have seen this where labs will actually send back 1 file every day, and all of the information's in there, including the grower, including the fields. If that's in there, you can actually have the system sorted out for you automatically. We don't have that luxury here, so we're going to say, yep, the field names are not available. They're not in there. So I'm going to say, yep, here's my available field, my east field. Here's the file, which is the entire file, and I'm just going to assign them all. Everything that's in that file is going to get assigned to the east field. So now it's basically saying, okay, in this file, somewhere we had to have a sample number. So when we go to link that up, what are we going to link it up into the Ag Leader system here? So we're going to link it to the feature ID system in here. Kind of showed you that earlier when you saw the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so forth and so on. So we say that's how we have to link it. So for sake of timing, you can go through and set this up, but once you have all the information coming in from a lab, you can save that so you don't have to do it every time. And that's what I did earlier. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to load in my template that I created earlier. And it says, yes, in the lab, the file that came back from the lab, they had a column called sample ID. That's what you kind of see right here. And we're going to match that up to the feature ID in our system. I also went through, here was the other information I got back from the lab. The soil pH, the buffer pH, organic matter, phosphorus, potassium. I think that was it on this lab result. Here's all the other things. So like once again, if we had recommendations coming back, we could map all that in there. So what we're doing here is we're saying, here's the information in the file. Here's where I want you to pull it in the Ag Leader system. We kind of have to match them up, kind of do, match one half to the other half. So once I have this, I'm just going to go ahead and hit finish. it did its thing. So now if I come back into here, right now I'm looking at organic matter, but I'm going to switch over to pH. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill those squares back in so we could see that. Oh, here we go. Well, I was looking at the wrong field. So that was our west soil sampling layer, so I'm just going to turn that off. So if I come in here, I'm going to set it to pH. There's kind of my pH grids, just so I'm going to go ahead and turn the grid numbers off for now. So here's my soil pH, and we can notice that we have a few areas where maybe that pH is a little low. We want to bump it up. So now we're ready to make a recommendation for this. Once again, fairly easy. So I'm just going to go in and say I'm going to create a new prescription layer, and I'm going to base that off my soil sampling set, and I'm going to do a dry fertilizer, and I'm going to do a target, and typically we apply lime by the ton, so my rate is going to be based on tons. How many tons per acre are we applying? So now it says, okay, what are the different rates we want to apply? So let's say I want to apply 2 different rates. We'll go 3. And let's just say one of those rates is going to be, we'll apply 1.5 tons per acre. I'm going to do another one that is at 2.5 tons per acre. And let's say I've got some spots where it's really going to need quite a bit, so I'm going to make it 4 ton an acre. So there's my 3 different rates. Now basically what we're going to do is we're going to match up the rates to the different ranges that we saw in the pH. So the ones that were fairly low, so anything, I can say anything that was from 5.2 up to 6, I'm going to do it that higher rate. So I'm going to say take my 4 ton to my 5.2 as well as to my 5.5 to 6. And let's say from 6 to 3.5, I'm going to do at that 2.5 ton rate. And let's say from the 6.5 up to 7, I'm going to do at that smaller rate. So there's my 6.3 to 6.5, and from 6.5 to 6.9, there's my different rates. And for the ones that are left, we're not going to apply anything, so we're just going to leave it as it is. So when I get done, I hit finish. So now we've created a new map, and there's my different rates. What's in white is what doesn't have to be applied. So I'm going to go ahead and save this into my management tree for Ellsworth College Farm Eastfield for the 2017. Here's my prescription, and the product I'm going to apply is the good old lime. So I'm going to find that here in the list. Oops, not K. Let's try lime. Hit OK. Save it again. I'll close out. So now if I go into here, I'm going to turn off my soil sampling layer. So here is my target rate. And if I wanted to, I can just go in and say the 0 rate. I don't even want to see that. So here's my rates. And so now I could take this and I can export this data out. Once again, I can do a device setup and just say I want to export it out to a certain display. And there's a variety of displays, not just AgLayer. We can export it out to a variety of systems. And that just literally start driving through the field, and the system's going to put on the rate it needs and when it gets to those areas. So this is it in a basic nutshell of the whole soil sampling process. From the beginning to all the way to the end of once we get our information and putting that into prescriptions. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of insight as to the power that we see now with precision ag in terms of soil sampling. So with that, thanks for watching, and look forward to seeing your responses out there on Blackboard to the exercises coming up. Thanks.